Part 2 of Dalia. Okay. No, that's not a parrot. That's a macaw. My 30-year-old self shrugged. Well, they still look alike to me. Don't you care for both in the same way? 12-year-old Dalia giggled. Wow, Abel, this is just like when I went to the pasture with you and you tried to tell me the difference between sheep and goats when I said the exact same thing, that they look alike to me. They eat the same things and they're about the same size at the same ages, and they both need protection, guidance, and care from you. That's true, I nodded with a chuckle. Only the goats act more independent and think they don't need me. But they have the same chance of survival on their own as a sheep. That's why I don't have as many goats as I have sheep. They're more likely to wander off, sometimes even on purpose, and some predator gets them before I can find them in time. A lot like how Dad thinks he can do things himself without needing Father God to help him. Dahlia blinked. Huh. I can imagine trying to do things. I can't imagine trying to do things on my own like that. I mean, sometimes I get overwhelmed caring for so many different birds. I need someone, whether it's Father God, Mom, Dad, or my other siblings, to care for me. Otherwise, I'm no help to the birds. As Mom says, I'm just one little woman. I sighed with a nostalgic smile. Yeah, Mom still calls me one of her little men, even though she says I'm not so little anymore. Mom still needs someone to care for her so she can care for all of her kids. Dad does too, even though he might never admit it. I have a question about something that Dad says a lot, she sighed as her gaze fell to the ground. Is it true what Dad sometimes says to the farmers, that Father God only helps those who are willing to work hard and help themselves? With a sympathetic groan and a slight glance upward, I shrugged. Well, I disagree with that statement and a lot of things Dad might say about Father God, especially after my first personal encounter with Father God when I was 6. My sister looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. Oh? She blinked. I continued. I mean, I help care for sheep, goats, and dogs. I might extend the same kind of loving care to all of the animals as you do to your birds. Some of the animals don't really know they need help. Those with matted fur or wool, they usually just look at me like they're mad at me while I'm shearing them, and I'm sure they're thinking, when will this be over so I can go back to grazing? But some other animals might actually be in pain from an injury, so they know they need help. Those animals actually look at me like they're grateful when I help them. Sometimes they stick around me a little longer. The sheep and sometimes the goats nuzzling up to me, the dogs licking my face and hands to show their gratitude. From my experience, it looks like Father God helps and sustains us all. But those of us who notice or are more grateful for his help are those of us who realize how much we need his help. There seems to be a kind of freedom and peace in admitting that I cannot do it all by myself. I need Father God to care for me. Wow, Dahlia smiled with a few happy tears in her eyes as she hugged me. The top of her head came to the middle of my chest. I wondered if she would be one of the shorter humans when fully grown, like May was. Thanks, Big Brother Abel. That answer helps me a lot. I returned her embrace, even picking her up playfully to give her a spin. Any time, sweet Sister Dahlia. When I set her back on the ground, I asked her, So, did you have more birds for me to meet? Her eyes lit up. Oh, I want to show you this one macaw who I named Repeat. You'll love him. Check this out. She motioned to a branch on a tree where a red bird, the length of my forearm, perched. To the bird, she extended her left hand with some seeds in it. The bird looked at her hand, then began eating the seeds. She stroked the feathers on his back with her right hand. Hello there, Repeat. How are you today? I then heard a sound that seemed to come from the bird. How are you today? How are you today? My jaw dropped in shock. Did. I couldn't even finish my sentence. Did. The macaw flapped his wings as he repeated my stuttering. It reminded me of when I was much younger, and I would play a game where I would follow Cain around and imitate everything he did and repeat everything he said, only in a whinier, mocking voice. I would sometimes do that for fun, to mess with him and see how long it would take before Cain reacted. Other times I might have been lonely, and it was my way of getting my big brother to play with me. He usually turned around and told me to stop, but I would only repeat him with, "Stop it, Abel," or "Go away, Abel." And then he would sigh, roll his eyes, and call out, "Mom, Dad, Abel's bothering me again." If Dad was the closest parent, he would usually glare at me or finger flick me, commanding me to stop and leave Cain alone. Mom, on the other hand, would say, "He just wants to play with you, Cain. Would it kill you to play with your little brother more?" Or sometimes she would say to me, "Abel, I don't think Cain feels like playing right now, but I'll play with you. Why don't you come help me in the kitchen?" As much as I enjoyed spending time with Mom, her idea of playing with me was having me help her with kitchen chores. Dalia snapped me back into the present day. "Repeat, this is my big brother Abel." She continued to stroke the bird's wings. She nodded over to me. "Say hi, Abel." The bird seemed to glance in my direction. "Hi, Abel. Hi, Abel. Hi, Abel." I laughed as I smiled at the bird. "Hi, Repeat." I gasped and glanced at Dalia. "Oh, now I see why you call him Repeat." The macaw's head bobbed up and down. "I see why you call him Repeat." "Will he let me pet him?" I whispered to Dalia as I slowly extended my hands towards him. "All right, I'll even help you." Dalia smiled as she placed a handful of seeds into the palm of my left hand. "I've learned it's better to give him some food, otherwise he'll bite your fingers, thinking they're food." "Say what?" My eyes widened in horror.